Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, I hope you can see the screen. Anybody can answer or raise your hand if you can see the screen. Can you read the questions on the screen? Yes, Sharia.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much. So as you know that we covered this chapter, coordination and responses. We covered some descriptive questions. Today we have the end of the chapter questions. Inshallah, we'll cover one by one. And I appreciate your participation. Think about the answers. You don't have to worry about the mistakes. It's absolutely fine. Just make your best judgment. I'm sure that everything is clear. We'll try our best to explain things as well, and then we'll see if we have enough time. Then we'll move forward to another chapter, chapter 14, homeostasis today. So we'll give an introduction of that, inshallah, and then of course it's really a big chapter. So very interesting chapter, inshallah. I'm sure you would enjoy this. So over to Sundus, if you can start with the questions on page 176 and 177, these two pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I hope that you guys. So choose the term from the list that matches each of the descriptions. You may use the term once, more than once, or not at all. So I'm not going to read all the terms. You can read them. A nerve cell that transmits impulses from the central nervous system to an effector. Raise your hand. Sarah?
You could, yeah, unmute them. I think I didn't allow them to unmute themselves.
Oh, okay.
It's the motor neurons.
Good job.
Correct.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Uh,
Yeah, but explain. Maybe she would like to explain further. Why did she choose this answer? Motor neurons. Why not sensory or relay neurons? Anybody else could join?
just raise your hand.
So why is the answer motor neurons? Why not sensory neurons or relay neurons? So is there someone would like to answer that? Part A. The answer is correct, yeah, but I want to make sure that you chose it on purpose, so that you exactly know the mechanism. A nerve cell that transmit impulses from central nervous system to an effector. So effector, as you know, that could be glands or muscle, and she said motor neurons. So the answer is absolutely correct, but just one little explanation if somebody could. Yes, raise your hands, please. So why not sensory neurons? Okay, this is another. Why not sensory?
Ibrahim?
Okay, you could allow.
It's not sensory neuron, because the sensory neuron senses the stimulus and it makes the impulse go to the relay neuron.
Good job. And then the relay neuron is transferring it to
The relay neuron is transferring to the motor neuron.
So the relay neuron is in the central nervous system, and the motor neuron then transmits the impulses from the central nervous system to the effector.
Yes, very good. Excellent.
Okay. Now, B. A cell that is sensitive to a stimulus. Nabil? You guys can unmute yourself.
It's receptor.
Good job. And can you tell me why? Or, I mean, if you wanted to give me an example of a receptor. Muhammad,
Yes.
do you want to give me an example of a receptor?
Muscle cells. Sorry, the eye, our eye.
Good job. Okay, C. The part of the eye that refracts light rays most strongly.
And your eye, as you remember, the pupil size is again adjusted according to the intensity of light. So you're not aware of that, but you will see that the pupil size is increasing or decreasing. So it's receiving the stimulus, which is light, and then you see again the motor neurons are then functioning, contracting the muscles, as you remember, circular muscles and the radial muscles. So yes, that is an effector and stimulus. Very good example, mashallah, excellent.
So now there's the part C, the part of the eye that refracts light rays most strongly. I want Ibrahim to answer.
Lens.
Good job. But is there any other part of the
May
eye?
I tell?
Yes, go ahead.
Cornea, as it bends the light.
Yes, good job. And is there anything else other than that? It's just like I'm just asking.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Abdul Ahad.
Conjunctiva.
Yeah, you could say that. Also,
But the predominant mechanism, what else? Cornea, lens, and then light is passing through what other medium?
Nabil.
Part D, right?
No, it's just a question. What else does light get refracted through?
Is it conjunctiva?
So
You could
cornea,
say
they
that.
mentioned lens also, and after light is passed through the lens, what happens to the light? Does it fall directly on the retina?
No, some light is absorbed, I think.
Okay, so what medium it's crossing? It's passing through which medium?
What is the eye filled with?
A humor, vitreous humor.
Yes,
Yes,
vitreous
good job.
aqueous humor. Yes, very good. Yeah, that is also reflecting the light finally toward that part of retina which we call fovea. Yes. Okay, good.
Okay, then part D. The part of the eye that contains receptor cells. Sarah,
Retina.
good job. And
Yes.
if we are very so I'm not just staying to the words in the bank, okay? And if we are very specific, then which part of the retina?
Above the optic nerve.
Fovea, right? Which is fovea.
Yes.
Yeah. So to be more precise, you remember in what kind of receptors are there?
Rod and cone cells.
Correct. Yes. Especially cones are more concentrated and tightly packed in the fovea, and the rods are another part of the retina. Yes, that's true.
Now E, a small gap between two neurons. Hamza,
Synaptic cleft.
good job. Okay, so what is the importance of this gap? What happens to this gap?
May I tell?
Yes, go ahead.
Hormones and chemicals are transported through this synapse.
For? Yes, your answer is correct. For electrical transmissions, right? For electrical impulses.
Yes.
Yes, good job. Now F, the action of the ciliary muscle when the eye is focusing on a nearby object. Sarah, you want to give this a try?
Contraction.
Good job. Yeah, you were right. You didn't have to lower your hand. So when the ciliary muscles contract, the ligaments slacken, right? And
Yes.
No,
the
is it relaxation?
length.
Sorry.
Isn't the answer to F is relaxation?
Why it works? And they are asking about the nearby object. They're not asking about distant object.
So remember that the rays coming from a distant object are diverging. So you need to bend them more to bring them to a point because they're farther away from each other, right? And for that, we need a thicker lens. And for a thicker lens, we need the ciliary muscle to contract and the ligaments to slacken so that there's no pressure on the lens. And the lens, kind of is pulled thin. And that's how you can focus. Sorry.
Yeah, and the nearby object, the rays that are coming towards the lens are straight also, right? So they need to be more diverge, or you could say they should be bent towards the retina. So that's why the ciliary muscle should contract to slacken the lens, That is important for nearby object, while it's exactly opposite of the distant object. So contraction that's why it should contract rather than relaxation. That is the correct answer.
Yeah. Okay, so G, the muscles in the iris that contract to reduce the amount of light entering the eye. Sayed Shahriyar.
Suspensory ligaments.
They're talking about the iris.
Circular muscles, when the light is entering more.
So over here in the question, they're asking to reduce the amount of light entering the eye. So
Correct.
that is to change the shape of the pupil, because that's the hole through which the light enters, right? And I told you it's the circular muscles which contract to decrease the size. So those muscles are going to have to contract to reduce the amount of light entering the eye.
So Shamim would like to explain that. What's the reason for that? Okay, Shamim, yes, go ahead.
Muscles.
When the circular muscles contract, so the pupil size decrease. That's what they mentioned. So why is important? Yes, Nabil?
It's, I think, so, to part H, right?
No, we're talking about still G, explanation for G. You rightly mentioned, I think you guys already answered that these are the circular muscles that are contracting. And why these circular muscles would contract to reduce the light? Why it's important to reduce the light?
So it is important because it would affect the retina.
Yes, if you have more light entering through the pupil, definitely is going to affect retina. So to reduce the intensity of light, the circular muscle will contract. This is called pupil constriction. And that's very clear if you see a light, or you look at the mirror, all of a sudden, which is very near, you will see the black dot that you see is constricting. Constricting means decreasing its size. So also for the nearby objects. Yes, for the far away, yes, this has to be. That's why the contraction is more important to save retina from excessive light. Okay, very good.
Now part H, cells that are sensitive to different colors of light. The key word here is colors.
May I try?
Let's give someone else a chance. Ahmed?
And they are cone cells.
Okay, yeah, good job. It's the cone cells which can detect colors, right? Okay, so now we can move on to question number 2. Explain the difference between each of the following pairs of terms. Cornea and conjunctiva. Nabil, you want to try?
Yes. Cornea does bend the light, and conjunctiva protects the cornea.
Good job.
Yeah, so it's the window of the eye. The cornea is a window of the eye, which
But also like elaborate a bit on their structure.
exactly. And what is the function of conjunctiva?
Protecting the cornea, so that more light could not affect it.
Cornea, or how it's
Retina.
conjunctiva. So it's the outer membrane that is covering on the sclera. You could see the white part of your eye, and that's why sometimes when the eyes become red, because it has small capillaries, vessels that are dilated due to irritant, and it continues through the internal part of your eyelids, and this is a protective covering as well. So that is called conjunctiva, and sometimes we have eye infection or inflammation that we okay.
Okay, so now we can move on to question number B. I'm
Sure.
part B. Choroid and sclera. Someone new. It's okay to be wrong. Josema?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Cornea is the part of the eye that bends or refracts light towards lens. And
Choroid and the sclera. This is the part B. Part A, you already answered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, choroid and sclera.
choroid is the layer that absorbs light and prevents the reflection of light.
Yes, good job.
And sclera is the secondary coat for protection of eye.
And how they are different in color? Do you, if you will, I would ask you like, tell me how
Choroid
they.
is, choroid is a black layer, and
Black layer. It's located where exactly? Above the retina or where?
choroid is located. Where?
Ideally, where it should be placed. It's as you mentioned that it prevents the scattering of light or light, so it prevents the unnecessary light to be scattered around the eye because of the black color. So where exactly do you expect this part?
And retina is absorbing the light. So where should it be
At
placed?
the front.
Behind the retina, right? So that the light can pass through the retina and then, be obstructed.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
What
Good
about sclera? Did they mention about sclera? What?
Josema, do you want to try for sclera? Or should
Sclera is a secondary coat for protection of eye.
What color is it? Usually the eye. Which color is it?
I don't know the color of sclera.
Okay, who is going? Yeah, Muhammad. Yes, Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Can you repeat the question?
The part B for question 2, choroid and sclera. These are two terms. You need to differentiate between them. And he already answered. Choroid is black in color, placed next to retina. That's why absorbing light, prevent the light from the eye. So what about sclera? And what color is it? If you see,
it's almost white.
It's almost white. Okay, very good. The white part that you see is the sclera. Yes, it's also protective and making the eyeball intact and solid. Yes, that's good. Okay. Next on those.
Okay. Receptor and effector. Muhammad, you want to do this one too?
Someone else can also contribute from, because I could see, mashallah, Muhammad and Zema and Ahmad. are contributing. You also can try. Other students, you just give a try. Abdul Ahad, you could answer that. Okay, Nabil has already answered. I just want some more students to participate. You just may try to make your best judgment, not necessarily to be correct. We are here to explain, inshallah, and definitely we are learning from each other. So as the name indicate, receptor. So what does it mean? Re for receptor, and then effector, that's showing the effect. So you can make something like some mnemonic you could try. Afan, you could answer. Hamza is there. Sarah, Shamim, Zahida. Try to answer what comes to your mind. They're saying difference, just the difference. Maybe it's not. Yes, Hamza, go ahead.
Receptors receive the change and effector make the change happen.
Make the change. So yeah, that's the receptor receiving the stimulus. You remember, there should be something that should receive the stimulus, either is light or heat or or touch, for example. So that is exactly receiving something is called receptor. That's why we saw receptor. That person is receptive. That person is receiving information. So receptor is also responsible in your body to receive the stimulus. Stimulus has to be received, and sometimes maybe these the neurons at the ending have these receptors, and they receive the stimulus, which is communicated through the sensory neurons to your brain, and then they bring the effector making the change. If, for example, your hand has touched hard surface, so what do you see? What do you expect? Immediately, you're going to withdraw your hand. So that is through the muscle. So muscle is basically gland or muscle or effector, yeah, which is bringing the change. That's also correct. Yes, excellent.
You can also remember it like receptor, and it receives the stimulus, and effector affects the effector organ.
Correct. Yes, excellent.
And thank you, Hamza, for participating.
Yes, jazakallah khair.
Sensory neuron and motor neuron. Someone new who, it's okay if you don't have to be right.
Try to answer. We want your participation, not necessarily that you are very clear or you have always correct answer. Just
Sir, which question are we doing?
We're doing part D of question 2.
Sensory neuron and motor neuron.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Sharian. Did you get the question? Part D. Sensory and motor neurons. How they're different? Oh, there's some connection problem. Let's give a chance to Ibrahim.
Yes, sir. The sensory neuron senses the stimulus. It then sends the impulse to the relay neuron. Then the relay neuron, sensory neuron senses the neuron, and the motor neuron takes the impulse from the relay neuron to, then it sends to the effector, the muscle, so it moves.
Yes, correct. Well, what about Sarah? You want to add something? You want to clarify something more?
Yes, in sensory neurons, the cell body is in the middle, and in motor neuron, the cell body is at the start.
Yeah, this is also a difference. Yeah, very good. I think, yeah, this is really a good difference as well. Not only the function, but the structure itself is different. And their location also, if they are in the central nervous system or where exactly they are located, so that could also be different. So you come up with whatever difference you, yeah, that's very good. Excellent. So you want to add something, or is it done?
No, I'm really happy with your performance.
Okay, great.
Okay, E, negative gravitropism and positive gravitropism.
What is gravitropism?
Okay, so we also would like somebody to answer that. What is tropism, and then what is gravitropism? Gravitropism.
Is it something related to oxygen?
This is related to oxygen. Yeah, remember we discussed the coordination system in human or physiological system, and then we also mentioned that in plants. So we have transmitters, of course, we have neurons, but in plant they do not have that sophisticated system. They are coordinating through auxins. And one of the mechanism that we mentioned is tropism, how they are responding, to the external stimulus or to the environment. That is called tropism, right? So then what is difference in negative gravitropism and positive gravitropism? And with some example, who is going to give a try? As you mentioned, that tropism is the response, to the environment, how they are responding or coordinating certain activity.
And look at the first suffix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So positive tropism can be defined as the growth of the root in the direction of the gravity. It means it is downwards. And the negative gravitropism is the stem's growth against the gravity. Means it is upwards.
Good job.
Excellent. Yes, that's very true. That's related to gravity. Negative gravity, they are opposing the gravity. They are resisting the gravity. So it's going against upward, right? Shoots, stems that we mentioned before. And what is the example for the positive gravitropism?
Towards the gravity.
Which one? Any example, Muhammad? As you
root
mentioned,
cells.
what for positive?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I have to explain that, the oxygen thing.
Yeah. What do you mean? I mean, you already explained that, but do you have any example you would like to clarify that so that everybody can understand what exactly we mean by positive gravitropism?
It is the way of the growth of oxygen in the root cells. Like, because of gravity, they are lower at the downer side, so the oxygen is more over there, and this oxygen decreases the growth.
Exactly, it's exactly opposite related. Their function is exactly opposite of what their function in the roots, or sorry, in the shoots or in the branches. So that is why it's called positive. They are towards the gravity. So gravity, as you know, that roots are going downwards, right? And they are absorbing minerals and water, and shoots are supposed to be exposed to sunlight for photosynthesis. So there's one of the reason that is negative gravity, and oxygen is doing opposite to what it does in the roots. So they are increasing, of course, and light is destroying, as she mentioned before. So this explained very well before, that in the shady area you have more oxygen in the branches, and they are bending. That's why they're bending towards the light, because the part which is not exposed to the light has more oxygens, and that oxygen is increasing its growth. And there's one of the reasons that they are bent. While in case of roots, because of the gravity, they are on the interior side, on the inner side of the root. So that is inhibiting the growth of roots. That is why roots are not going upwards, but the roots are going downwards towards the ground, so that they can absorb water and minerals. Okay, wonderful, excellent.
Yeah, and so while you guys were explaining negative and positive gravitropism, you guys basically discussed the differences. Okay, so now we can go to question number 3.
Yep.
If you step on a sharp object, muscles in your leg will rapidly pull your foot away. What is the correct term for this type of reaction? Hosaima?
A reflex action.
Good job.
Sarah, would you like to explain? Yes, beta?
No, it's fine.
It's fine, okay. So you agree with that? This is a reflex action?
Yes.
Okay, immediate withdrawal of the your foot or your hand is basically the reflex action for the protection as well. Yeah.
And now B, using each of the following words at least once, but not necessarily in this order, explain how this reaction is brought about. Someone
Yeah,
other than Nabil and Muhammad. Okay, Muhammad, go ahead.
The when we step, the sensory neuron in the receptor cells detect the stimulus, and then they send electric impulse to
you
the
don't need to explain it. You just put the sequence, the exact logical sequence. I mean, of course their sequence is not correct. So you say, for example, first what will come here, so that we understand the answer clearly. I know your explanation is very good. You know the mechanism. If you have understood the explanation, then you could put them in order.
first,
So what
it
should come
is
first?
receptor, sensory neuron, and then electric impulse, relay neuron, then motor neuron, then effector.
Good job.
Part of it. I think what should come first? Should it come sensory neuron?
Receptor, and then sensory neuron.
Then where is the impulse?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
The electrical impulse and the relay neuron. I think you mixed them up.
Yeah. So what do you put it in order? What exactly
The
should be
electric impulse will be used 2 times, right? From sensory to relay, and then from relay to motor. Between them, the electric impulse will be used.
Okay. Right. So receptors, yeah, this electrical impulse. Okay. So you're seeing that receptors as receiving, and then it goes through the sensory.
Yes.
Sensory
By
will
the electric
come
impulse.
next. Will be the relay. You are saying that relay will then towards the motor, or to electrical impulse is passing through the motor to the effector.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. This is this the correct sequence, Sundus?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Okay. 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 So what they have mentioned here, yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. So this is the as you can see here, the sensory neurons are from where they will receive the information from the receptor, right? And then they are propagated or transmitted to the through the relay, and then they are bringing this communication system through electrical impulse. I was just thinking probably maybe in terms of maybe you could say a reflex action. Maybe you have electrical stimulus, like when you touch a wire, for example, or anything. So you are basically withdrawing your hand. So there is also an impulse that will be received by the receptor, and that is propagated through sensory and relay neurons, bringing back the execution mechanism from CNS through motor neurons to the effector muscle or gland. But yes, yes, whatever you explain is also correct, because communication is in the form of electrical impulse.
And also in the question, they're mentioning the sharp object to be a stimulus.
Oh, okay. Okay, the sharp object could be the stimulus. Yeah, this sends an electrical impulse along a sensory neurons to the brain. See, here I think in your answer they have mentioned first the electrical impulse. That is should come first, and then second is receptor, right? Third is the sensory neuron. Fourth is the relay, right? Relay, and then motor neurons, and then finally effector. That is the exact explanation. Sharp mean it could be also touch or pain, but as you know that neurons are communicating through electrical impulse. So that is one of the reason they are putting electrical impulse that is generated by the sharp object. This is what they have mentioned some those in the answer in the book. Yeah, so this should be the logical sequence, otherwise you will miss it. I think if there are a few numbers, so that is exact answer mentioned, I think somewhere in your book, in the answer keys. Okay.
Now question number 4. Identify the type of neuron, sensory, relay, or motor that matches each of these descriptions. For some description, more than one type of neuron may match. Has its cell body in the central nervous system. Sensory, relay, or motor. Ibrahim?
Relay neuron.
Good job. It's in the central CNS. carries nerve impulses away from a receptor. Receptor receives the stimulus. Muhammad?
B part,
Yes.
it's sensory neurons.
Okay, good job.
Yeah, away from the receptor. Yeah, that's good. What about the A? Is it correct? Motor neurons also has cell body in the central nervous system or not?
It depends on which motor neuron you're talking
Mhm.
about. So I think relay is more closer.
More correct. Okay. It's appropriate. Yes.
But
Yeah.
we can still write motor too.
Yeah, because they didn't mention exactly the type,
Yeah.
whatever the type is, but if they are motor, so you don't need to mention motor neurons do have cell body in the central nervous system.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
better to mention both of them.
Both of them, yeah, great.
Okay, now C. Carries nerve impulses towards its cell body.
C.
May I try?
Yes.
Is it a relay neuron?
Towards its cell body. Relay neuron, yeah.
No, sorry,
you can say.
motor.
Doesn't motor
If you remember
carry-
the structure, yeah, structure of the neurons, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't motor take the impulses away from its cell body, away from the CNS to the effectors organ? Muhammad?
C. You're asking C, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's relay and sensory neurons, both of them. They pass through the cell body.
Good job.
Yeah.
But sensory more, right? Because sensory is really clear. It comes from the receptor, and its cell body is usually in the ganglion, right? And then the impulses are going towards the cell body and then on to the CNS.
That's very true, yeah, because the cell body is different in case of motor neurons, as you mentioned, is located in the ganglion. So that's why it's more accurate, because impulses are going towards the cell body in case of sensory neurons. Yes, that's correct.
And
then you can go back to page 164. Later on, you can just check again these questions, okay? Solve this question again so that you understand the mechanism. But yes, that is very true. If you look at the figure even in 164, you could see the difference. Yes, next.
Now D. Carries nerve impulses away from its cell body. I just told this one right now. Abdul Ahad, you want to try? Sayed Shahryar?
Yes.
Axon.
Okay. So do you want to try D? Carries nerve impulses away from its cell body.
Axon.
So that is very general. They said
Neurons, they are neurons, yeah.
yeah, so they asked from the type of neuron, sensory, relay, or motor. Ahmed?
Your motor neurons.
Good job. And is there any other type that might be there, Muhammad?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Motor and relay, right? Because as you mentioned previously, the nerve impulses pass through the cell body in relay. So on the other side, they're obviously going to travel away from its cell body, right?
Exactly. This is another way. If you have answered sensory neurons, which is going towards the cell body, so the rest two relay and motor neurons, they're basically the impulse is going away, not towards.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
this is another way, exactly
But in
opposite.
sensory neurons also the impulse passes through the cell body and goes away from it.
Yeah, so another thing I wanted to mention is that its cell body, if you remember, is quite separate from the two extensions it has. So, and
Is
it's
it
like,
possible we can see if you have book, you could see page 164.
okay, so should I?
Yeah, you can show them so that they can understand this answer. It's very important actually, because if there's any confusion, so we can, just see the book on page 164. Yeah.
Okay, just give me a second.
Yeah, page 164.
Okay.
Now there's a clear difference. You could see here, if you can raise it a little, is it clear? Or can you see the picture?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So now you can enlarge it and look at the sensory neurons where exactly the impulse is going, and look at the relay neurons.
Yeah, so
And
this is what I
yeah,
was saying, that the cell body is quite separate from these two extensions, right?
yes,
So it's not actually passing through the cell body, it just stays in these wire-like structures, the axons. And for relay neuron, it actually has to pass through the cell body because it has no other choice.
correct. Yes, excellent. Yeah, I think so.
Did you
Yeah,
get it, Muhammad?
Yes.
Okay, good job. Anyone else has a question? Okay, so should we continue with?
yeah, sure.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, yeah, we can see.
Okay. Where were we?
Number E.
Okay. Is entirely inside the central nervous system. This one's easy. Which is in which neuron is entirely in the central nervous system? Sarah?
Relay neuron.
Yes.
Yes, good job. Can have an axon that is more than a meter long. Hala? Hala, you
What is
want
it?
to try?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
The motor neuron.
Good job. Because we do have a motor neuron that is running all the way from the CNS to the feet.
Toe, huh? Controlling the
Yeah.
movement of the toe. So what is the name of that neuron?
I don't actually know.
Somebody would like to answer? Did we mention sciatica before? I think they mentioned, right? In the book.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah,
Muhammad?
this is the longest neuron actually. That is covering for the movement of the toe. That is the sciatica neurons. Yeah, nerve fiber. This is the longest one, meter long. And there is again motor, not sensory one, right? Motor is controlling the movement of the toe. So
Yeah.
that is the longest neuron in your body. Okay. So next question.
Okay. Question number 5.
Yeah.
The diagram below shows a synapse. In which direction does this synapse allow a nerve impulse to travel? Explain your answer. You can see, you can guess by the direction in which these vesicles are opening.
Yeah, exactly. There's another clue.
Yeah.
Towards B means towards the wall. Means towards right.
From A to B, right?
From A to B.
Yes.
You could say more precisely from A to B. This is the whole answer. Towards B, then from which direction? Maybe you need to mention from A to B, and then you need to explain why. Why do you think? What makes you answer that it should be from A to B, not from B to A?
There are 2 reasons.
Okay, who is going to answer that? Somebody would like to just comment, maybe someone else who has not answered yet, just to make a good guess.
Hosaima?
The nerve impulses move from the left to right because they contain neurotransmitter. No, the nerve impulses move from left to right, containing
Okay.
neurotransmitter
Yes.
Neurotransmitters are stored in what part? What is called A? What do we call it? A?
A nerve impulse.
No, the A part, the round circles there you could see. Yes, Muhammad?
There are the vesicles, and the B part are the receptor molecules.
Exactly. Vesicles are containing those transmitters. Vesicle are basically is a storage. These vesicles are storage for neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are released in the space. And what is that space called? You need to mention in the explanation. Their space is called?
Can I tell?
The space between A and B.
Yeah, synaptic cleft.
Synaptic cleft, yeah. The transmitters are released there, and some of the transmitters are taken back in these vesicles coming back, but yes, B are the receptors receiving the transmitter, so they are basically communicating through these neurotransmitters. These transmitters are very selective for these receptors. So when these receptors are stimulated, electrical impulse will travel, which is called action potential, if you remember. So that will travel towards the other part, towards the end vesicles, where they will further release transmitters affecting the effector, the muscle, where there will be a contraction in that case. So yes, from A to B, A is vesicle, B are receptors. That should be a good explanation.
And there is another reason. Does anyone want to try? So you can also see, you can also tell by the way they're shaped, right? An axon terminal is going to be curved like this, and the receptor is going to be a pit, so that they fit really nicely. And that's how we know that it's the impulse is moving from A to B, because this is the direction it's coming in from.
Right, that's very true. And you could see the shape of the vesicle. The vesicle are releasing transmitters. So that is why the first thing is coming from A, not from B. As you can see here, the vesicle that are exactly attached to the surface, the ending, they are bursts, they are releasing these transmitters in the cleft synaptic space. And that's why they will definitely attach to the receptors. There's another clue. You could look at the clue. If you don't know exactly the mechanism, you're a little confused, but you still can make a logical answer, logical way of explanation, that the vesicles are releasing transmitters. And you could clearly see in the figure that they have mentioned transmitter release from A in the space, and then they will be attached to B. Okay.
Yeah. So then part B, describe the roles of the parts labeled A and B in transmitting a nerve impulse from one neuron to the next. So I think it was already mentioned right now.
Yes.
But
yeah,
if anyone wants
yes, who is going to answer? We already exactly there is just we discussed that. The answer, full answer we have discussed while in the explanation. So it's part of this answer is already there in part A. So who is going to, for those who have not participated, I appreciate that you could just come up with your explanation. What do you think? Anyone from those who have not answered? Just make a logical sequence, okay? So that you can easily understand, no matter whatever comes to your mind, it's fine. You just, I want to see your thought process. We explained it very well. Yeah, Shamim. Yeah, go ahead, Shamim.
Shamim, do you want to try?
Ibrahim, would you like to try?
Sir, which question?
This question, part B. There are question number 5, part B. They are saying that describe the role of the parts labeled A and B in transmitting a nerve impulse from one neuron to the next. We already answered that. Just want to see, what do you think of that? What is A and what is B, and how they can play their role in transmitting the impulse?
Yes, sir. The A is the vesicles. They include the impulsive message. Then
Okay, very good.
B is I forgot the name of this.
Receptors, okay, they are received. So anything where, simply, you mentioned right, vesicles are containing neurotransmitters. If these transmitters are released, they should be received somewhere. That is how
Yes, sir.
receiving mean, because if transmitters are just hanging and they stay in the cliff, they are not attaching to someone, somebody is not receiving them, so it's not going to propagate, because this is a communication system. They are saying transmitting nerve impulse. This nerve impulse is basically talking of one neuron to another, that what to do next, So you mentioned rightly,
Yes,
but now
sir.
make a logical sequence that when transmitters are released, there should be receptor, okay? And these receptors are receiving
Yes.
the transmitters and propagating this impulse towards the end, nerve ending, where further vesicles are there. They will release more transmitters at the site of at the target organ. The target organ, for example, in case of reflex action, you would say muscle. So muscle will be contracted. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
And Ibrahim,
Okay.
I would also want to correct you. You said that neurotransmitters carry the message, right? But don't get confused. Neurotransmitters
Yes.
are chemicals, and they are same for any type of message being transmitted. Okay, they are just
Correct.
released so that the receptor cells on B open up, and the electrical impulse can go from like
Yes.
neuron A to neuron B. Did you get it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Okay. C. Suggest the role of the mitochondria shown in the diagram. Afan?
They release energy from respiration. The energy is then used by the neurons, or more accurately in this case, neurotransmitters, to send the impulses.
Good job. And what is that specific process which needs energy from respiration?
Respiration.
No, I mean it needs energy from respiration.
Aerobic respiration by oxygen.
Yeah, that energy is, required for what? In terms of neuronal function, in terms of neurons function, what comes to your mind? Why
Sending
this
impulses.
Active transport, right? Across the cell membrane.
Yes, the transport mechanism and also the synthesis, and basically here mitochondria is also taking care of the excess of neurotransmitters that are released. So they are degrading the excess neurotransmitters to have a check and balance as well. I don't know if they have mentioned the role of mitochondria. There could be, yes, but I think for you probably you could focus at the energy synthesis, because they are powerhouse, right, of the cells. So power is generated, and they do have enzymes. We call it monoamine oxidase enzyme. They are oxidizing these transmitters. Remember, when the vesicles are releasing transmitter in the synaptic space, what happened? So what happens is that these transmitters are attached to the receptor. This is one thing. This is called affinity or binding. So that binding is triggering our communication process so that the impulse is communicated. And those transmitters that are in excess, as I mentioned, there are many transmitters are released at one time. They are taken aback. When they are taken aback, they are stored in the vesicles, or they are metabolized by the mitochondria, releasing the raw material. Again, of course, it's used for the synthesis. But this mitochondria is one of the things that in case of depression, when transmitters are really low in the brain, and depressed people have low transmitter in the brain, there's one drug that is inhibiting this enzyme system, so that you don't want to degrade, because depressed people already have very less transmitters, neurotransmitters. So if mitochondria is active, especially mitochondrial enzyme, there are specific enzymes that are responsible for metabolism or destruction of these transmitters. So that drug is inhibiting actually that enzyme. So you have more transmitters in the brain. There is one mechanism, but yeah, of course, it's probably not mentioned anywhere in this chapter, but you could further explore on it, inshallah. What are those drugs? Yes, please.
Yeah, so is that why people eat a lot when they're in depression?
Actually, eating is again related to the role of transmitter, either they eat more or they eat less. It depends on the level of transmitters. So depressed people either lose weight or they gain weight. There actually both are possible. But in case of depression, so for the drugs that we are using clinically by doctors, by psychiatrists, they are prescribing drugs that are increasing neurotransmitter levels. These neurotransmitters, actually, the transmission is low. This is why people are really start isolating. They don't feel enthusiastic. They don't have any career plans in their life. They don't enjoy things they used to enjoy before when they were normal. So one of the things that they discovered, their scientists, a very good story sometime, maybe inshallah, moving further in drugs chapter, we will talk about that. A scientist discovered a drug, and then he found that actually this drug is increasing transmitters, and there are different mechanisms. I don't want to confuse you with that, but there is one class of a drug, we call them monoamine oxidase inhibitors, that are used in depression, and they are basically related to mitochondrial enzyme. These mitochondrial enzymes are responsible for destruction of neurotransmitters. So when those people are taking the drug, what happens that the enzyme is inhibited, and you have more vesicles. You know, the vesicles are already short of transmitters. You don't want mitochondria to play much role on destruction. So you want to stop that pathway. You want whatever transmitter is coming back from the synaptic space, and they should be stored in the vesicle, rather than whatever is getting into the vesicles, mitochondria is not working on them. Mitochondria, they are saved. But before entering the vesicles, they remain for a while in this space, and then the enzymes are basically metabolizing those transmitters. So if you inhibit that enzyme, monoamine oxidase, monoamine or monoamine oxidase system, you inhibit that, you are increasing neurotransmission in the brain, and these people are then somehow their mood is elated, or the symptoms of depression are relieved. Inshallah, we'll discuss this in more detail in one chapter. I think you have mentioned these drugs in the coming chapter, so we'll have more discussion.
Oh, okay, I get it now. Okay, so now question number 6. The light-sensitive cells in the eye are known as rods and cones. The diagram shows drawings of rod cell and cone cell. Name the structures labeled A to C. Who wants to give this a try?
Consider they are rod cell and they are cone cell.
Don't be
So what do you
worried by their
expect?
shape. They're still cells.
Yeah. That should help you to answer the question. Usually human cells, what should rod and cones, if they are biological cells, what should they contain? What is the outer layer?
A is cell membrane.
Oh, wonderful.
Can I tell B?
Yeah, go ahead, Ibrahim.
B is cytoplasm.
Wow. Yes, very good. Excellent. See,
C
your hand
is
is not raised, but
nucleus.
you know the answer. Try. Those people who have not contributed, we want this interactive discussion. You need to participate, please. Okay. And don't worry about the mistakes. We all are learning. So if you don't make mistake, how you could learn? And this is called a discussion. If you remember in the small group sessions these days in many schools, they are introducing tutorials or small group discussion where students could also come up with wrong answers. So it will generate discussion. I don't think that is the proper possible mechanism or possible explanation. I think it could happen in another way, or there is another way, another explanation for that. So that person who is making mistake, he would easily realize that maybe this mechanism is not related, and he definitely would remember that. It will consolidate your knowledge, your explanation, your cognitive function.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Who is going to answer that other than Ahmad Muhammad? Then we'll come to them. Hala, yes, go ahead, Hala.
C is nucleus.
Wonderful, excellent. That's true. Good point. Yes.
Now, B part 1. Name the tissue in the eye where rods and cones are found. Hamza, you want to try?
Yes, fovea.
Good job. And if we are very, very specific, where are cones found and where are the rods?
For both rods and cones, yeah. For the cones, yes, correct, fovea. But what about rods?
In the retina.
Yes.
Yes.
Hala? Yeah, that's true. Yes, correct. Hala and Hamza, you have any other explanation, or you want to add up? It's fine. If you want to repeat the answer, that's absolutely okay. If you want to endorse that answer, that's
Can I?
absolutely okay. Hamza?
Yes.
So what do you think? Rods and cones, where exactly they're found?
In retina.
In retina. So to be more specific, cones are in which part of retina? There's a special
Fovea.
part. Fovea, very good. And what about rods?
I'm not sure.
Rods, okay.
Rods are found scattered on the other side of the retina.
Good, Afan. Yes, excellent, Afan. Yeah, excellent. Very good.
And now part 2. Name the parts of this tissue where there are cones but no rods.
Oh, yeah, they have again answered. You already answered, I think, right?
Sir, can I tell?
Okay.
Yeah,
Fovea.
good job.
And blind
Correct.
spot. Blind spot.
So the blind spot has no cones or rods, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
And
why we don't see in that part. Images cannot be formed.
and which part of the eye has no cones but rods only? Just a question. Ibrahim?
I don't know.
Muhammad?
I don't know.
Ahmed?
I think retina.
Yeah, good job.
What is the question? So sorry, Sandus, could you repeat, please?
So the question was, which part of the eye has only rods, no cones?
Yeah, okay, good, yes.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
Isn't fovea part of the retina?
Isn't fovea?
Part of the retina.
Yeah. So who is going to answer that? I would say that some students should answer that. Yeah, very good. This is a good question. Isn't fovea part of retina, Sarah?
So then what's the difference between fovea and retina? That's the question.
I don't know.
Afan?
The fovea is part of the retina just above the blind spot where there are only cone cells tight packed together. Therefore, if you're in a lighted room looking straight at an object, all of the light will be focused on the fovea so that you will see a clear image.
Good
The
job.
difference between the fovea and other parts of the retina is that other parts of the retina mainly contain rod cells which are more scattered apart. So therefore, next time if anyone's in a dark room, try this. If you look at something directly, you won't see it properly. But if you look at it from the side of your eye, then it might appear in some detail.
Okay, a very good explanation. Do you think something is still missing if you want to explain further in case of fovea?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The fovea contains cones, but there is a dent in the retina. There is the fovea.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
But how do we see the image then? Then the image which is formed upside down. So then what exactly is which part is taking care of that we clearly see the image straight?
Optic nerve.
Oh yeah, so there's another connection, right? So it's the optic nerve is carrying these impulses to the brain where you could see the colors, you could see the image. Yeah, that's good, very good. They are connected, especially the nerve supply. Yes, so I think now the answer is clear. Yes, we do agree that fovea is a part of retina, but what is special about fovea that it contains cone cells that are responsible for color images. As I mentioned, C for colors. C for colors, color images. You could see details of the shape, color, and while in case of rods, that is responsible for black and white. It's not for color vision. Yeah, okay, wonderful, great. So is anything else on this? We have last question, I think.
This was the last question. So if anyone else has a confusion, you can ask now.
So there is also part C. Describe how rods and cones function.
Yeah, exactly. How they function. Very good. Yep.
But didn't you guys just discuss that?
They just discussed exactly that. But if you remember, I think as you mentioned, the optic nerves that was missing. So he already mentions connected. Rod and cone cells are basically have connection through the optic nerves, and they are receiving what exactly they are receiving in terms of function. What do you think?
They sense the light.
Yeah, the light, the light impulse. This is the stimulus which is coming and falling on the retina, and then they are responsible for the image formation. Basically, the rays that are coming, the things that you see are the rays that are falling on the retina, and then they are how the image is formed. Is it straight over there, or what kind of an image, if you remember exactly?
Image is flipped. Image is flipped.
Yes,
Upside
it's
down.
not straight, upside down. It's not straight. Yeah, this is the function. What exactly is the rod and cone cells are? Rods are responsible for black and white, as you mentioned. Yes, correct. And cones for color images. Very good. And the image that is formed on the retina in this part is upside down, and through optic nerves, this is a connection to the brain where the image is straightened, and then you could see clearly the image. This is exactly the answer. You have any question, anything? Then I think we have done all questions. It's better to have discussion rather than just giving answers, because if you remember the answers, but I think probably you can easily forget it. Discussion would definitely make things consolidating. This is called cognitive, and skills will be improved. First of all, your analytical abilities are increased, and we call it retrievable knowledge. Retrievable mean you could easily, if it's asked in the exam, of somebody asks you regarding eye function, you should not just guess in the air. You immediately should be able to trace and retrieve the knowledge. So that's called consolidation. So discussion will definitely consolidate. And I encourage you, please, to revise the chapter yourself as well. There are a lot of activities in it. Read it out. And then if, inshallah, if time will allow, we will cover some part of activities in a small group sessions, or we'll give you some topics, inshallah, for discussion. I think now we're already short of time. Tomorrow I will give you a brief introduction of homeostasis, and this is our next chapter that we have. We'll see if we can do some kind of activities. So maybe put you in small groups and give you a topic from coordination and excretion we have covered. So I would say that briefly, make conceptual map. Conceptual map means that you pick up the core knowledge. When you mean excretion, what comes to your mind? What are the excretory system, different excretion way, and what exactly is the main function of excretion? What organ is responsible for that? In the kidney, for example. And then what exactly is inside the kidney? Nephron. What nephron does? Filtration and reabsorption. What are different ways if it doesn't work? Then dialysis, for example. What happens if dialysis doesn't work? What we should do? We should go for renal transplant. And put sorry for that, there was some interruption. So you put all your points over there, and this way you have covered the chapter. And then definitely you have question answer. Write it down on your own. If you don't remember some, go back and consult the book, see and read the text, read the passage, and then understand the concept, and write it down in your own words. Again, the same, without looking at the book, write it down, the answer in your own words. This will help you a lot, inshallah. And if you have any question, otherwise, inshallah, we'll conclude for today.
Does anyone have a query?
No, I don't.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you. Have a
I
nice
love
day.
it.
Inshallah, we have another session which is coming related to not scientific. There's a religious aspect. This is a reflection on value of words, the way that we are talking to each other, communicating, or to your elders, your parents. What are the guidelines in Sharia? What Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned, and what has been mentioned in Quran. How should we speak, and why we should be extra careful while doing conversation or talking to someone? What should be the best way? So that is inshallah at 3:45 p.m. 30 minutes discussion. You are most welcome to join. Jazakallah khairan. And have a nice day. Assalamu alaikum.
So when it is?
It's at the same today at 3:45 p.m. after Asr prayer, inshallah, 3:45 p.m. till 4:15 p.m. The title is Value of Words, and guard your tongue. That when you are angry or when you don't like someone, even if in normal conversation, what is the best way? The best guidelines are available in Sharia, that is to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Quran. So we'll talk about that, inshallah. So you're most welcome to join, and you could also invite your friends, parents. This is also for kids, parents, and everyone, inshallah.
And so the ID being used would be?
The same ID.
Okay.
This class, yeah. Same ID, same password, yeah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Okay, sir.
Thank you for the
Walaikum
classes.
assalam.
Thank you for the class.